books present. Most of them, it's usually not rocket science. It's usually not something that's that radically different. It's just a different way of looking at something. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And there's some very specific things in here that I want to share. There's some forms that I'll share with you. In fact, I do have a copy of the presentation. If we can send that around. I'll split that. Send it in both directions. That way you can take notes. If you do hear something that you like, find important, whatever, that makes it an easier way to take notes. There's pens on the table there. There's a couple articles that I wrote that discuss some typical issues that I found with business owners. One of them being delegate or do, and it's always a difficult choice. Do I delegate? How do I feel about that? Nobody can do it as well as I can, and some of the pitfalls that entails. Because if you do that, you're limited. You're limited by however many hours you want to work. That's it. If you learn to delegate, you're no longer limited. It really opens up a lot of doors, but it's not that easy to do. So anyway, there's a couple articles there you'll find interesting, I hope. Those are on the website. If you haven't checked out the businesssuccessforum.net website, I encourage you to do so. We're still in the process of building it up. We are videoing this, so if you missed something, you should be able to go back and see the video whenever Josh gets done editing it and we get it uploaded into YouTube and linked into the site. So that will be available to you as well, plus some past presenters also. So let's get started. Yeah, it's kind of what got you here won't get you there kind of thing. And that's also what that article discusses that Josh handed out. A lot of times a business will reach a certain level and they just can't get past whatever that level is. And it's usually limited to since the business owner is doing a lot in most cases, it's limited to their skill set, their personality type, whatever it is that they can do. That's usually the limitation. It's what got them there. It's what made that business a success. It's what's made them maybe thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. But everybody has a limit somewhere. And that's why that article discusses scaling. Can you break through whatever that limit is that is keeping you back from taking that business to the next level? Okay? So what got you here won't get you there. But have fun with that. And this goes into some things like that too. But using the analogy then of pumpkin growing, what do? You plant great seeds, you water. As they grow, you remove the diseased or damaged pumpkins, you weed like crazy, remove lesser pumpkins, focus attention on one big pumpkin and watch it grow. Does anybody see an analogy coming here? So business growing. Same kind of thing. You identify and leverage your biggest natural strengths. And do you know your natural strengths? It's easy to say, but do you know what your core strengths are? I would encourage you to take a strengths test. Raise your hand, Bob. Unsolicited plug for Bob. He does that. And there's some great tests out there that he can help you with that will let you figure out what your strengths are and then what you need to do about it. Because you may not know, you may not fully understand what your strengths are. Learn what those are, learn how to leverage those, learn what you're not as good at. Doesn't mean you can't take the responsibility for what you're not good at, but it does mean you probably ought to have somebody else helping you out with whatever that function or specific thing is. So anyway, identify, leverage your biggest natural strengths in your companies. Sell. As the business grows, fire all smaller, rotten clients. That's a tough one. How many people like firing clients? When you're first starting a business, it's what are the good clients? The ones that can fog a mirror? The ones that can write a check? Fill in whatever you like to say. But that's not necessarily true going forward. At some point, you're going to realize that 80% of your income is probably coming from 20% of your clients. 80% of your headaches are probably coming from another 20% of your clients. That Pareto principle thing, it's true everywhere of everything. So look at that and consider there may be some clients that don't fit what you want in your business. They may not be paying on time. They may not be a lot of fun to work with. They're nasty to your employees, whatever. Again, fill in the blank. So yeah, fire those less than productive clients. Never let distractions, i.e. new opportunities, take hold. Weed them out. That gets back into, especially when you're starting a business, well, what should I do? I should do everything. If they can pay me, I'll do everything. And that's okay, but at some point, hi Rabia, there's a seat down here. At some point, that starts to work against you. You need to maintain that focus. What is it that we do? Why do we do it? How do we do it? And stick with that. Don't get sucked into doing all sorts of auxiliary things. It's tough to do, especially when you're starting out. But stay to your core principles, your core products and services. Identify top clients and remove the rest. And we'll actually get into this in a little more detail, and there's a suggested format for doing that, so we'll dive into that in a little bit. Focus on those top clients. If you've got 80% of your income coming from the top 20, the reason they're in the top 20 is they're probably paying you well, but they're also probably not a major headache. So you tend to get pulled into the ones that are the headaches, the ones that are a pain, the ones that are a nuisance. Make sure you're allocating a good portion of your time to the ones that are paying you for that time, essentially. So concentrate on those major clients. Make them just raving fans as much as you can, and then watch it grow. This talks about the sweet spot, and I've actually got this in a larger format so that you can go through and fill out exactly what you've got for your clients. But let's look at that for a minute. What that's looking at is the top clients. You know, what are some characteristics? I can barely read that. Their industries, their demographics, their psychographics. What do they look like? What do they do? What do they like to do? Where do they hang out? Know your clients extremely well. So identify your top clients. What is your unique offering? Do you have something that's unique? Do you have that USP, unique selling proposition? If you don't, figure it out. What is the biggest strength? The immutable laws, we'll talk about that in a minute. The areas of innovation. So what is unique about your business? Okay? And then systemization. How can your company's product service be delivered without your direct involvement? Do you have the systems in place to be able to do that? If not, you're going to be wearing every hat in the store. So systemize the business. And how can your company's sales grow without your direct involvement, without any of your involvement? If you can do that, you've got a true business. If you don't, you've probably got more of a job. That makes sense? Then what about if we have some of this and we don't have some of this? Okay? For example, if we know our top clients and we've got a unique offering, you're trading dollars for hours. What does that mean? You don't have the systems in place to be able to leverage it. You don't have other people there to help you do it. You're doing things yourself. You don't have the systemization in there to help you. Let's say you know your top clients, you have systemization. There you've got price pressure. Okay, because you don't have anything unique. You're missing this part. So what are you competing on? Price, right? If you had unique offering, you got that USP, and you've got systemization, but you don't know who your top clients are, no one cares. Okay? It's only when you get all three of those together that you're in that sweet spot. That's when the business can thrive. That's when you, as the manager, as the business owner, can fly, because the thing is going to operate itself. You've got it systemized. It can do the things on its own. And that's a lot of what I do, is working with the business owners and helping them as a coach get this stuff coordinated so that they can actually operate the business and not necessarily have to be there for every moment of every day doing everything. And so often that's the case. It frees them up, frees you up to be able to do what you want to do, to then move the business forward, to replicate it, to franchise it, to do whatever you want to do, spend time with the kids, whatever. At the same time, the business is providing your living. That makes sense? Okay. Problems. When addressing a problem, don't ask, how do I do this? Ask, who should do this? And don't we fall into that trap as business owners? It's, how do I need to do this? Who should I get to do it? If you haven't read the 1 Minute Manager, read it. 1 Minute Manager is great. It talks about this. It talks about how to manage people and how to do it in a very succinct, friendly way. I'll tell a story. It's a little sarcastic, but for example, you had somebody that comes in, and I'll pick on my former purchasing manager, I've got a purchasing problem. I don't know what to do. This is a problem. What is the problem? Have you defined the problem? Well, not completely. Why don't you come back when you've defined exactly what the problem is? Okay, comes back. Well, here's what the problem is. What did you want to get? Well, I don't know, but it's not right. It's not working out. We need to do something different. What do you think we ought to do different? Come back in with that suggestion. What ends up happening is, it sounds sarcastic. It sounds like you're putting somebody down, but what you're really doing is you're empowering them. You know, he was the purchasing manager. He had the initials after his name, that he had been certified in that, not me. You know, I'm an electrical engineer, I'm an MBA and all that good stuff. I got some letters after my name too, but I wasn't trained in purchasing. He was a better expert in that than I was. Now, as the GM, I had to make the ultimate decision, but 99% of the time, he could make the decision, or if he did need my authority, he would come in with the right suggestion. 1 minute manager. It would just take me a minute of reviewing things. We'd come to an agreement. The thing would be resolved. And he was empowered. He was able to do more and felt more in control of his situation. Okay. Yeah, fire the deadbeats, cultivate the gems. Y'all are going to get some exercise carrying all this paper out of here. You didn't count on that, did you? And by the way, like that one especially, if you want that electronically, when you fill out your evaluation, just make a note on there. In fact, you've got the sheet. You can make a note now if you want it electronically. And make sure that I have your email address. If you signed up, I probably do, but don't count on that. Make sure, and I'll be glad to send this to you. The idea is, go through each one of your client. You've got the name. You're listing exactly who they are, what they are. Cringe factor. What's a cringe factor? Have you ever had any clients when they call you just sort of cringe? That's a cringe factor. Sort by revenue. How much are they paying you? That's a good way to sort. Fill in the ratings, review the results, pumpkin plan around the top-rated clients, and we'll get into the details on that more. But fill in these things in here. Do they pay quickly? Is it a repeat customer? How's the communication? How does it fit in? What's the future opportunity? They may not be a lot of money right now. They may not be a great customer right now, but you know what? They're growing. So I'm going to give them a higher rating because of the potential that they have. And that's okay. You're filling this out for yourself, not anybody else, so whatever criteria you want to do. Referrals. Are they giving you referrals? And immutable laws. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But it's how do they fit your immutable laws? And you make those up yourself. Your core beliefs, are they going to be congruent with that? That's what that's talking about. And then what you do is you take an average of all of this stuff, A, B, C, D, whatever, and you average that grade in. And you come up with a listing then of your A clients, your B clients, your C clients, your D clients. The A's you love, you give them anything they want, as long as it's consistent with what you're doing and what your business core values are. The other end of that spectrum are the D's. You may want to fire some of the D's. They're probably not paying. They're probably a pain. They're driving your people crazy. So you may want to fire some of those D's. And by concentrating more and more on what are the really good clients, what you'll find is the business will grow. Instead of allowing those D's to suck the air out of the room, don't bother with them. Raise the prices. But concentrate on the ones that are very, very successful for you. And again, if you want that electronically, just let me know and I'll be glad to shoot you a copy. How to fire. Eliminate services. You can drop service. If you're trying to fire somebody, you can say, well, that's not really consistent with what we're doing. Prioritize the stars. You may have clients that are in conflict, in competition with other clients, and prioritize the stars. Prioritize the ones that are really good for your business and you're able to help them more. Raise prices. Refuse to two-time. That's, again, the competitor thing. If you've got a competitor that you're dealing with, maybe you make the decision, I can only deal with one of whatever that classification of client is. So get rid of them. That's an unusual thing. You didn't come in here to learn how to get rid of clients, did you? It's a little different perspective. But the fact is, by doing that, you're going to have more time, more effort, more money, advertising, whatever you want, to be able to spend on the ones that are really good for your business. So it is a good thing. Favoritism, it's a good thing. Who are your top clients? Give them what they want. The giant pumpkins, to use that analogy again. Don't tell them they're VIPs, show them. People get tired, you're a really important client to me. I want to do everything I can. Yeah, prove it, right? And that's what you need to do every day to those very important clients. You need to prove it. Are they important? How do they know that they're important? What is it? 70% of customers will stop dealing with someone because of perceived indifference. Underline perceived. They perceive that you, their vendor, don't care. Yeah, you'll take their money. Yeah, you'll give them a product, and it may be correct and right, and they're satisfied, but they're not that raving fan. So how do they know that they're really a very important client to you? The customer is not always right. The right customer is always right. I like that one too. That gets back into the ones that are a real pain, and they want something, they demand something, whatever, and customers are always right, right? No. The right customers are always right. Take care of the ones that are right. Under promise, over deliver. That phrase has been worn out, but still needs to be part of our being. Wish list. Pumpkin planters' success is not having better answers. It's in asking better questions, better defining the problem and the solutions. How do you deal with your clients? Are you asking them constant dialogue, asking them what they need, what problems they have? And that's what you're there for, is basically to resolve the problem, whatever that is, whatever your service is. If it's legal counsel, it's what problems they have, how can you help them? So, interview questions handout, another paper. Don't you love it? See, I'm going to be lighter going home. You guys are going to be heavier. Yeah. And if you're curious, I said take two, take one for me, one for you. I'd be interested in seeing your response to that, and complete that yourself. If you want to, hand it back to me or send it back to me. But complete that. Use something like that at least. And again, I can send it to you electronically, but that's pretty straightforward. But some type of an interview, survey, whatever you want to call it, for your clients, and get feedback from them. Know where they're at. Know where you're at with them. Okay? So if your customer client labels you the same as the other vendors, you're dead. You're right back to that, what else are they going to compare you with except price? They need to be not just satisfied, but they need to be that raving fan. Absolutely ecstatic. Who else are they going to go to? You provide better service than anybody else. Let your customers lead. And what that means is, if they're leading, if you're in tune with what they want and what they need, then you're going to be successful, because your business is going to follow them through that marketplace out there. You're going to help them get to where they want to get to. Do you know what they want? They may be buying your stuff, your service, whatever it is, but do you know what they want? Where are they headed? Where's their business going to be 5 years from now? If you can get so in tune with your customers that you know that, then there may be some opportunities there that you weren't aware of to be able to supply them with more services, better services, to help them achieve what they want to achieve. If all you're doing is answering the questions that they ask, you're only halfway there or less. Breeds innovation. Again, if you're staying in tune, I need to start introducing this. I've done that with my own business. This is a franchise. It dealt primarily with one-to-one coaching. There's a lot of really small businesses that can't handle that financially. They're too small to be able to handle that. So I've come up with some new things that allows even smaller businesses to participate. So I've got businesses that range from, a couple $100,000 to a 65 million plus client. And I like to think that I'm treating each one as a VIP. Now, they're structured differently. I'm getting different amounts of money for each one. I'm different amounts of time that I'm putting into each one. But each one is moving their business forward at a pace that is good for them, as fast as we think they can move their business. But it breeds innovation. So think about that when you're you're doing your interview questions. Saves you money. You don't have to develop this stuff a lot of times. You get the best ideas from your clients. That paper that I just handed out, that didn't come from me. That came from a client. He realized that he was at a point where he needed to go through that barrier or whatever that was, and he understood that he had, as an entrepreneur, reached kind of a glass ceiling and wanted to break through that. He was kind enough to share the article with me, and I don't know how many copies I've given out to people because I think it's a great principle. And we're all guilty of reaching some kind of a level to have to break through. Shapes your brand, inspires loyalty, motivates unsolicited promotion. If you're that in tune with your clients, they're going to be out there talking about you. Unsolicited promotion, free advertising, whatever you want to call it. They're going to be out there telling people about how good you are at what you do or how good your products are. Isn't that nice? New product service launch sequence. Predict. Ask what your clients want. Ask what your customers want. Appreciate. Thank them for their input. We tend to forget that sometimes. Announce. Tell them what's coming. It's the, I see an Apple computer. Doesn't Apple like to tease the marketplace with new stuff before it comes out? I mean, they got the market whipped up, and where else are they going to stand in line for hours, days, whatever, waiting for a new computer, a new phone? Give me a break. But it works. If you can tell people things are coming, they get anticipated, you can charge higher prices. Not that Apple would ever do that, but give updates. Ask, deposit for new products. Take a deposit. If you're developing, I don't know if Apple does it or not, but take a deposit for that new product when it comes out so that you're ready. They've already put some money down on the table. Everybody wins in a situation like that. There you go, even better. 100%, there's no deposit, it's 100%, okay.
You can pre-order their products.
Yeah, and you see more and more companies, Walmart is doing it. You can pre-order DVDs from Walmart. I mean, yeah. See, like they're not gonna have enough when you go back later.
Value of money.
Yeah.
Let them use your money better than you can.
Exactly, for the next month or so until it comes out. Limits, limited time, limited quantity, that sort of thing. If there's that sense of urgency, that sense of that there's going to only a limit to this, that can be good. And then keep track, keep score. As you introduce it, how is this progressing? Okay. Now the one area where I kind of disagreed a little bit with what they talked about in the book, this is all great stuff. But if you had done a survey and you were Ford Motor Company before they came out with a car and you went around and asked somebody, what do you want for better transportation? What would they say? A faster horse, right? So an Apple, if Apple went around and asked what people wanted, would they necessarily have heard that they wanted an MP3 player, which became the iPod? Probably not, okay? So this stuff is great and it keeps you in tune, but you really need to be ahead of your customers, as those examples point out, because they would not have asked for what they ended up getting because it was so outside the box. Customers don't always think outside the box. That makes sense? So you go a little beyond what's expected. Tap your vendor well. Talk to your clients, other vendors to help them versus asking directly for referrals. We've all heard that, if we want referrals, you go to your customers, that sort of thing. But if you can get in touch with their ancillary services, if you can get connected with, if you're doing, I can't think of anything as an example, but if you're doing business coaching, if you're doing business coaching and you make friends with attorneys and accountants and what, you're not trying to sell directly to them, but you're trying to get in touch with so that you can help their friends, the people that they're in touch with. That's what this is talking about. And prove that you're helping your mutual clients. For example, if you're working with an attorney, if you can prove, which you ought to be able to, that you're helping them in some way. If it's business coaching, we can look at the P&L, we can look at the whatever, as long as somebody allows somebody else to look at it. But how can you prove then, through testimonials, through actual facts, that you're doing what you say you're doing to help the clients? Number one, to prove it to yourself, but then also if you can prove it in the marketplace. Because testimonials, for example, are a great way to verify what you're doing to the marketplace. I have a testimonial sheet that I'll be glad to give to business owners, not written by me, but written by other business owners that I've worked with that have had results, great results. So that's not me talking, that's somebody else. And then ask for referrals. Move in concentric circles. Where do your key prospects go? Industry conferences, trade shows, attend workshops, these kind of things. Do some networking. One of the things that is part of our vision for these groups is networking. That's why we're going to have a lunch, not just to feed you, but so you can get together and talk and exchange cards and all that kind of stuff. So get to know each other. There's some new people in the room that you probably haven't met before. Attend fundraisers, their fundraisers, if you're talking about trying to get closer to a client. What do they do? How do they spend their time, invest their time? Become a real entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs don't do, entrepreneurs allow others to do. I like that. And if you've got your own business and all you're doing is doing, you've created a job. That's okay, and that's what you want. But that's not entrepreneur. That's not owning a business. That's owning a job. So entrepreneurs allow others to do. And the neat thing about that is you're empowering them. You're allowing them to grow and have more fun with their life and really enjoy what they're doing. Build processes, systems. It may take 10 hours versus 10 minutes, but it can save you hundreds of hours by building those systems. Well, it takes me 10 times as long to train somebody as it does to do it myself. Okay, so after that 10th time, the 20th time, the 30th, then it's a positive equation, right? Oh yeah. Train people to do it. Don't do it necessarily yourself. And leveraging it. The sample he had there was the airline card. Instead of having to explain everything on that silly airline card that's in the back of the seat you may or may not have even looked at, how many millions of people and billions of hours have been saved because of that airline card and not having to read it and whatever. 3 questions. You need to ask yourself, and all of your employees need to ask these questions when they're looking at doing almost anything. Does this decision better serve our top clients? If not, why are we doing it? There may be other reasons, but at least ask the question. Does this decision improve or maintain our area of innovation, that unique selling proposition? So maybe it doesn't do as much for that client, but it positions us very well in terms of our niche. Does this decision grow or maintain our profitability? Or if it's a not-for-profit, at least not lose any money. So you need to have that embedded in yourself and then all the employees. Because then you won't be going off in other directions. You'll be going down the path that leads to growth for the business, for yourself. Okay? Kill the curve. New label. Analyze the industry and know how it runs and do the opposite, i.e. Blue Ocean Strategy. That's another book. If you're a reader, that's a great book, Blue Ocean Strategy. It's getting outside the box. It's doing things differently. He compares the blue ocean to the red ocean. The red ocean, why is it red? Because we're all fighting it out and we're bloody and it's terrible. It's the commoditization of whatever it is that you do. Get outside that. Get into the blue ocean. It's a lot more fun. There's a lot more area there. You can grow the business. You can do kind of whatever you want. Think about Blockbuster. Then came Redbox, which is still doing okay. But now Netflix. You want a movie? Go to your computer, download it, watch it when you want to. And what just happened to Blockbuster? They're done. At least they closed most of the stores. So stay on target. United Airlines, or any big box airlines, Allegiant, Southwest, name one of the ones that are making a whole lot more money than the American Airlines, United, et cetera. Why? Because they do things differently. Southwest especially, and that was actually written up in the Blue Ocean Strategy book. When they designed the airline business model, they said, we're not just going to compete with the other airlines, United and American, whatever. We're going to compete with somebody who wants to drive down to Florida. Our prices are going to be that way. We're not going to have all the fancy lounges and things like that. They took a list of all the different characteristics of all the different airlines and said, we're going to do this, we're not going to do this. We're going to do this, we're not going to do that. and then see how that mixes in terms of the costs, and then what they can do in terms of what they're offering to the people. It's not a hub, it's direct point to point. Anyway, without going through that full analysis, blue ocean strategy, great idea. Get outside the box. Put an EST into what you do. Fastest, bestest, whatever. You know, we're going to deliver your package tomorrow when FedEx came out. Who thought of that? That was great.